I think we're pretty much all here, hey? So maybe a quick round of introduction, maybe who you are and what nation you're from, and have you ever rode a camel? And so I'm going to start with Rod. Who you are, where you're from, and have you ever ridden a camel?
Okay. My name is Rod Hunter. I'm a bear spot counselor for the Stony Band, one of the Stony Bands in Morley. 19 years now involved with them. It's a long haul, and I rode an alligator, not a camel.
Hold it right on. I'm going to call Betty.
Itamiksi afternoon, whatever how you say it. Anyway, Nitaniko Akaminaki. My Blackfoot name is Mini Feather Woman, and I'm Betty Smith from the Piikani Nation. And I just retired April the 30th, so I'm still kind of getting used to it. And no, I never rode a camel, but I was trying to ride my dog, and he kept taking off.
Patsy, thank you, Betty. Patsy.
Really? Okay, Nitaniko Kapyo. My name is Blackfoot name means walks far, and my name is Patsy English. I also technically I was our services in Piikani Prevention Counseling Services has stopped. NADAP is not sponsoring us, so they had to strategize. Yeah, restructure the whole operation. So they had to let us go. So right now I'm just I'm on the I guess I'm looking in the skies and in the stars and wanting the moon to let me know what my next step is. But I would like to get into the doing what is it programs, short-term programs with my sister and I. So I'm taking my sister along, Betty. So we still have a lot to give. We're not ready to quit. We want to help the community, and I'm from Piikani First Nation.
Okay, I am Soul Horse, member of the Kainai Nation, which is part of Black Federation. And I have rode a camel when I was a lot younger. They actually had them in front of Kmart in the U.S. and put a nickel in there to ride them.
That's right. So, Solange, you're getting an idea of how our meetings go, hey? Hal, I'll let you introduce yourself. Same questions.
Danit Atta, Sise Aslatha Atta. It's a great honor to be amongst you. My Tsutina name is Goslatha, meaning the one that chases. And I often think I chase a stronger future for my people, but my uncles just say I chase girls. But,
Don't chase us.
Well, my wife doesn't like that joke. That's why I call her my missus, because when I'm away from her, I misses her. I never rode a camel, but I ate one.
Right on. Thank you, my brother. And Elvian and Lester, same questions.
Well, I'm from the Blood Reserve, Kainai, and I've never rode a camel.
And Lester.
Okay. My name is my Blackfoot name is Stamikrisapu Bo Fum, and I've never rode a camel. So, are we going to ride one?
I'll see what I can do. Okay. Solange, why don't, same questions for you. Who you are, where you're from. We'll get into your long introduction later, but who you are, where you're from, and if you've ever ridden a camel.
Okay, Tansi, bonjour. My name is Solange, and I was born on a shopping trip in Edmonton. I'll leave that part there. I have French Canadian and Cree Métis ancestry, and I have never ridden a camel yet.
Right on. Thank you for all participating and bringing us together in good health and happiness and humor. You all know me. Most of you are my family, but my Blackfoot name is Sun Woman, and I'm from Piikani Nation. And in all good consciousness and in the spirit of transparency, Betty and Patsy are my aunties. So I have to really toe the line and really be honest.
Yeah.
Can I call this time together in a good way? I know Casey's going up, and I know he's carrying some heavy stuff on his heart today, and just acknowledge, that. So, Hal, would you honor us and call us together with an opening prayer?
Hey. Thank you for this blessing day, Creator. We ask for the hearts and minds of all of us here. Watch over our families during this COVID and to give us protection on our travels and to get us home back to our home fires safely. I ask for the guiding spirits to give good direction to Solange and the work that she's going to do on the curriculum development, that the hearts and minds of our nations come through to her in a positive way for the newcomers, that they have a better understanding of the land and the unity that we want to promote here in the harmony. Thank you.
Hey.
Hey.
Thank you very much, Hal. Also, if everybody can humor me, I'm going to call for a round of a moment of silence for all those that we've lost in this time, all those friends and relatives that we've lost during COVID, and most especially for, just to acknowledge all of those innocent children and those unmarked graves, and, the grief and pain and the trauma that's, continues in our families, in our relatives. So we just acknowledge all of those. And if I can just ask for a moment of silence as we acknowledge all those and remember to carry them as we bring our hearts, minds, and spirits together. Thank you very much. I just quickly on the agenda, we had a report that we had to do. It was the narrative part of our report 6 months into this year too. And I basically wrote a story, oral report, and I'm really anxious to read it to you all, get your feedback. I believe we're on I believe the words, capture where we are on this project in a good way and in the spirit of our oral way of relationship building, and then coming together to make decisions, to settle conflicts, to make treaty with each other. So I'll just read that out really quickly, and maybe we can get some feedback on that, and then I'll turn it right over to Solange to introduce you know, what she's going to do in this work. Does that sound good? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So since the beginning of this project, we realized very early that building relationships with elders and knowledge keepers was critical in order to understand the various ecosystems of care that are present across generations of families, communities, natural environments, and the energies and life forces that combine and shape cultural worldviews, practices, and values for Indigenous peoples. During our consultation with elders, knowledge keepers, and the community, we came to realize that the expressions of culture, protocols, and values shape every human experience, starting within the home, into the learning environments, the social engagements, into workplaces, and into each season, being close to nature, our Mother Earth, where cultural ceremonies have taken place in this territory since time immemorial. This offering was a different way of living and being, where interconnectedness and relationality are prevalent and are the center of all things. We came to understand the significance of the time spent in relationship building, and we understood that within this time of truth-telling and truth-seeking, more and more of our cultural similarities were being revealed and offered opportunities for exploration to help balance shared colonized histories of hurt,
Somebody turn your mic off.
Is that an alert? Is that an alert where we run out?
Yeah, I think that was Elvine. We came to understand the significance of the time spent in relationship building, and we understood that within this time of truth-telling and truth-seeking, more and more of our cultural similarities were being revealed and offered opportunities for exploration to help balance shared colonized histories of hurt and trauma between Indigenous peoples and newcomers. We understand that we are growing into a true collective impact approach that is built on deep layers of cultural connection and exposing past legacies and future legacies that encompass hope for future generations of our grandchildren's grandchildren. In our learning and our growth of cultural understanding, we are becoming aware that cultural worldviews also influence peacekeeping, security, commerce, and all the social determinants of health and well-being. We observe the deep layers of compassion and patience extended through kinship practices present in the community. Primarily when the former program associate experienced very traumatic events in her personal life, the Elders Advisory took the lead and extended a sweat ceremony to offer healing for the mind, body, spirit, and emotions through humility and prayer. The ceremony offered for this individual was supported by the Elders Advisory, Center for Newcomers Executive and staff, members of the individual's immediate family and friends, as well as members from the community. In coming together for this specific shared purpose, meant to offer help in this individual's life, all the participants were also extended the opportunity to request help in their lives and for their loved ones. The time, venue, songs, and food offerings at the sweat ceremony impacted human experiences that went beyond a mere opportunity to observe a cultural demonstration. The results were profound on the day of for each participant across cultures and invoked a continued capacity shaped into a living story onward that would be transferred from generation to generation. This ceremony followed all COVID health and safety measures and social distancing, and the ethnicity catered lunches were individually packaged to limit exposure and close contact. Another social and cultural collective impact approach was the gathering for the pipe ceremony and traditional validation process used by elders and knowledge keepers to help guide all participants and witnesses with understanding and carrying this work to help all our grandchildren. As soon as COVID health and safety measures allowed for an outdoor gathering with appropriate safety measures and social distancing, this event took place on the land. Support and attendance of 50+ participants reflected provincial ministers, City of Calgary Mayor, project partners, Centre for Newcomers CEO, executive, staff, and volunteers, Project Advisory Committee, Help Seeker evaluators, and Elders Council and ceremonialists, hosted at the historic Fort Calgary, and further supported by their own CEO, executive, and staff. The function of this pipe ceremony was to model transparency of all the learning and consultation exchanges that brought us to this day, and to commit to showing up reflecting the sacred values of love, honesty, truth, courage, respect, humility, wisdom, and reciprocity that our elders expect of us as human beings on our life journey and in our relationships with all things. Themes for a soft launch of the learning content for the project's toolkit were presented to the ceremonial pipes. Captured in the prayers, songs, and humility undertaken and modeled by the ceremonial elders, the collective journey of the information presented and held within the people's minds, bodies, spirits, and emotions became part of the smoke from the pipes and the smudge, and would then travel and become intertwined with all the sacred smoke from historical ceremonies onto future ceremonies where intentions and vows would be made to help efforts to improve the lives for the next generations are held within the prayers. The outcomes of the inclusion of traditional ceremonies helped in many ways in moving this project forward. There have been numerous struggles, starts and stops in this project due to COVID, timing of events, and staff changes. The employment transitions where a supportive growth position was created in this cycle to assist the inception position in management of this project. Having 2 positions was short-lived, and we are back to 1 position managing this project. The opportunity to follow the elders' teachings, protocol, and ceremonies are helping to center energies of the Elders Council, the Advisory, and Centre for Newcomers staff, and focus on overcoming challenges and to be positive and flexible in our collective efforts to creatively influence a transfer of knowledge over time. We're learning from the elders and knowledge keepers that we need to work together and that our efforts will enable all future partners, teachers, participants, and their households, places of gathering, and our calls to experience the solace found out on the land will generate the breath of life necessary to infuse changes in our collective spirits. The elders remind us that all this needs to be in place and needs to be united so that the work of change can become real in its energy and flow. A monumental opportunity to learn about the influence of history for the Indigenous peoples in their ancestral territory while still living in Calgary and area was when Fort Calgary became the location for the pipe ceremony. Historical Fort Calgary, whose public information follows and encourages from their website, and I'm quoting, "You to acknowledge the land on which you are hosting your event. By doing this, you formally recognize our unique and enduring relationship between this land and the Indigenous peoples of this place. Because of this relationship, which had emerged since time immemorial, we have this land to gather on in the way that we do today. Including a land acknowledgement invites you to reflect on what it means to be here." Again, from their website, I'm quoting, "We are gathered here today in an important and sacred place within Treaty 7 and the traditional territories of the Nitsitapi from the Blackfoot Confederacy, including Siksika, Piikani, Kainai nations, the how do you say it, Rod? Or hey, Nakota? Of Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley Nations, and the Dene of the Tsuut'ina, Southern Alberta, is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. Fort Calgary is located where the Bow River meets the Elbow River. This site has long been called Mohkinstsis by the Blackfoot, as well as by Nakota. How do you say it, Rod?
Yahe Nakota.
And how do you say it?
Nakota. Stony Nakota is the better one.
The site is the birthplace of the city of Calgary. As participants now gathered here in the heart of this Treaty 7 territory, we acknowledge that we have ongoing responsibilities to protect and honor all life within our shared reality as treaty people. Fort Calgary CEO and executives shared that this would be their first opportunity to have a community present for an in-person gathering for ceremony during COVID-19. Their community spirit and participation in the role of witnesses they felt enriched their own work and their own lives. It's also notable that Troy Patnaud, PhD, Director of Cultural Development, is one of the newest members of this project's advisory committee, and Troy worked as a helper in the pipe ceremony, sitting and working beside the pipe holders, assisting them with their sacred and holy cultural items. In the opportunities presented where culture and ceremony take the forefront to help us all move forward through traditional models of kinship care still practiced in this territory, the impacts created are growing partnerships who are from municipal, First Nations, and Métis communities who can understand, feel welcome, and fully participate in cultural ceremonies. The connection and stories generated will grow and extend beyond this generation and have positive influence to help break down the historical stereotyping and racial discrimination from settler and newcomer communities towards the Indigenous peoples of Canada. So those are just some of the narrative that I had the opportunity to bring forward for the funder in this work. And I was sharing with Casey earlier that, sometimes young people in our community, they operate kind of like white people. And, they forget that the role, how important it is to have relationship and develop relationship with each other. And, that's not time wasted. It's time for us to come together, in the spirit, carrying all of our values and, trying to come together and model, as Indigenous people, how we come together in the best way possible so that we can carry the work at hand together and that we can create new work moving forward. So I'll just call for, are we on the right track? Did I present all our efforts up to date in a good way?
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Casey, what do you think? Maybe Hal, what do you?
I'm going to see if I can fix the muting. Just want to make sure that everyone can see the little microphone beside their name, and if you can't, just to click the microphone to make sure it all comes through.
So yeah, Hal. Oh, Casey, sorry. Casey first and then Hal.
Yeah, so I think you captured quite well. And that's something that's really part of it. You had a part where you talked about cultural demonstration. You might want to add 2 words, and experience.
Okay.
Because then send a message of inclusiveness.
Thank you for that, Casey.
Yeah. Yeah, for those on the phone, you just have to hit *6 and you'll get unmuted.
So Hal, just asking you for, I guess, feedback.
One of the important, I guess, things that government loves to hear, or even funders, is the word reconciliation. It's a big buzzword with government, and their calls to action is what's being demonstrated here. So from that colonial, non-native side of thinking, it gives them that, I guess, comfort that they're following their government mandate when that word reconciliation is added. And I got this from the Minister of Indigenous Relations for the province of Alberta, Minister Wilson. He had mentioned to me, whenever you apply or whenever you're introducing any type of reconciliation, that from us white men, he said, it's very valuable for us to see that. So I guess I just wanted to add that, but everything else is really spot on.
Thank you, my brother. That means a lot. Patsy, if you hit star, what was it, star 6?
Yeah, 6, star 6.
Patsy, what did you think about some feedback from you? Okay, that's okay. Elvian, are you back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, really clear.
Oh, okay. Sorry about the interruption. I prefer going on the laptop because my phone is kind of messed up a bit. Anyhow, yeah, I got bits and pieces of what you were saying because I was kind of busy trying to get things organized here. But anyhow, I was for me, all that you mentioned is pretty well what we're gearing towards, and um, like I had talked with Patsy and Betty some time ago, and we were kind of talking about where are we going with this. Like, I'd
Yeah.
like to know
Yes.
where we're going. What is it that? What's the vision? Like, what is it that we need to do that we can help out with? Because kind of and I'll be honest, I kind of felt like I'm going in circles. I like to move forward with whatever it is that you guys are requesting from the elders. Um, and I guess, like when I think about myself, I think about my ancestors, my grandparents. Without them, I wouldn't be who I am today. And through their teachings and we pass down our teachings to the next generation. And there's no such thing as writing, reading. It was all through um, like how would I say it? I guess through teachings, eh? Like for example, and I brought this up before. In life, we come to where life can get hard, but our ancestors, our grandparents, how we can overcome these obstacles and these trials. And so it's just, we're very strong individuals. Um, and our way of life is very spiritual. Everything is very spiritual to us, like the earth, the water, just everything. Um, and I think that's all I have to say. My mind's kind of going blank here. But Lester's right here. I don't know if he wants to add on.
Sure.
I think you're doing a real great job, and I never got the chance to welcome you because of me being in the hospital and welcoming you to the group here. And yeah, you're doing a good job, and I really don't have anything to say on it. And it was really good what you had wrote down and same thing with what Alvin had said that going forward and moving on and getting things together. And right now, I don't know, in the future, I would like to see after this COVID and everything is gone, and I like to see some kind of where we can get together and show the newcomers our way of life. Demonstration, like invite dancers to our and see and let them see how we celebrate as Native people, and then we can give them a chance to show us. So that way, we're all together in one big area, and just to look at each other's traditions and whatnot. So that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin and Lester. What you said really touches my heart. Just so you know, we're really excited to hire a curriculum development specialist, and she's going to introduce herself on this call to us. So, it's going to be really clear with how the working groups, you and the advisory, are going to come together, and then how that's going to co-create some of the areas in this toolkit, and that's the expertise that Solange will bring. So I'll let Betty, are you on the call?
Oh yes, do you hear me?
Yeah, real clear. So we feedback from you. What do you think about what I read?
Well, okay, first of all, Cindy, I'd like to congratulate you for taking over the newcomers. And I'd like to thank my elder advisory on their, their commitment to the group. And what I wanted to say was, I kind of agree with what Lester was saying. Coming together as, the elder advisory and the newcomers, and just introducing our way of life. A lot of Napiquacs or the outside people don't really know how we live, how we interact in our ceremonies. Like Alvin said, everything we do is spiritual. And like I was raised by my grandparents, and some of the teachings that they showed me I still do today. And I try not to forget. And one of the things I just wanted to just mention this. One of the things that I was just a little girl when I used to go visit my grandmother. And the minute I walked into her house, my grandmother would sit me down on a chair and she'd say, "Kukuna, kakitsoy," and she'd feed me. And sometimes I didn't know what she was feeding me. And I was always telling this story where she made Saskatoons with cow blood. And I was just, of course, when you're young, you're so greedy, you want to eat it. And I told her, "Na'amotani stapi," and she told me. And I was, I don't know if she's seen the look on my face when she went into the bedroom and I spilled it back in the pot. And she came in and she told me, "Oh, you really like the soup. Do you want some more?" I told her no after. But that's how the way I remember my elders from long time ago. We were really kind. The minute a person walked into your home, you gave them water, you made tea, you made them feel welcome, you made them feel a part of your home. And I know there's some people that still do that. And, just getting back to our traditional ways, sometimes we forget, sometimes we lost it, but just showing these newcomers what we're all about, where we're coming from, and for me, the biggest thing is kindness and love. Showing these people, we're all equal. Nobody is any different, just our skin color and whatever else, their denominational faith, but we're all the same people. And what I'd like to see for myself in the future, like, we need to go ahead. We need a vision. What I'd like to see in the future is maybe next year, hopefully COVID is over. Maybe we could have a camp out down at Lester's, invite anybody who wants to come, these newcomers, come and see our ceremonies. We'll have sweats. We'll smoke the pipe. We could set up teepees if they want to stay in the teepees. If you want to bring your RVs, whatever. But we need to go back and start. We talk about teaching them, and we need to. Those are some of the values that I really take into my heart. So that's what I have to say. And the report that you wrote, Cindy, that's really good because we're moving ahead. And we have to continue moving ahead for the funders, to keep funding this program that we have now. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Betty, so much. Patsy, are you able to connect? So yeah, what did you think?
I can see that the microphone is still muted. It might be a matter of calling back in to see if that works, if you can hear us.
Or Patsy, that's okay too. You could just, I'll send you a question and you can just answer me on email too, if that works.
Try hit star and 6 or whatever.
But that I really appreciate all of your feedback. I'm really honored to Carrie. Yes, Patsy, go ahead. Oh, to carry this work on our behalf and to bring you all together, to have conversation, to consult with each other, and to help Solange, who is the curriculum design expert specialist that's going to help us with these next steps and how we can contribute. Go ahead, Rod.
I didn't say too much at the beginning there. Really, the way you concentrated on our tradition, the sweat and everything, I'm really apologetic for missing it because things were not in a good way back then. And because of my heart condition, I can't go in the sweat. But you know what? I went in 100 rock sweat for my Sundance, and it's nothing wrong. Nothing happened to me. Anyways, we need to concentrate more on what can we tell them that's not too complicated, not too much information, because then you might see powwows in Czechoslovakia or Germany. That's because we shared too much information with them. Now they're using it to their advantage. That's we need to almost keep it in a tight circle, limit what kind of knowledge we can actually tell them. the intricate stuff of medicine, intricate stuff of the pipe ceremonies. Sure, we can have pipe ceremonies, sweats, but not how we gain the sweats, not how they're transferred or anything like that. So, I'm really happy to be, because I just finished my 4th Sundance, and they're very successful. At one time, there were 60 dancers, and I was really happy for that. And you're doing a really good job. I mean, that's a really long report that you wrote, and there's some spaces I could have helped a little bit, but thank you for all your good work.
Thank you so much, Rod. So I know Patsy was out and back in. Are you able to connect, Patsy?
Hi.
Hello, we can
Hi.
hear you. Hi.
I'm good. Like what I was saying when I was muted out. Those are very powerful words from everyone that shared. And I think myself, I really believe that we also as the elders, we talk about it, but we're not doing what we're saying. We need to sit down and plan something that will be benefit to us, where we'll feel good about it. And I feel, and that's how we will move about. And how you presented your what you did, Cindy, it was excellent. It was excellent, because basically that was a real, like I'm from Treaty 7, I'm Sikanaki, and I didn't even know where the fort was, where we had the pipe ceremony in Calgary. Kind of got lost, but anyway, I found it. So, yeah, you're doing an excellent job, Cindy. Just keep going, and I'm proud of you and the rest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my sister Patsy. You and Betty have been part of my life since I was a little girl, and you've always had my back. So I just honor you both. So I'm going to have the privilege. I've heard I wrote down, your suggestions. I'm really excited because I know Solange, it gives her a lot to work with, in her bringing us all together, giving us what that overall, like, what are we doing? That goal, she actually has it written down, and then she has 4 areas that we're going to work on moving forward. So she's already done a little bit of exploration work with the advisory committee, and then now this is her first opportunity to introduce herself to you, our elders, and then she'll let us know what that overarching goal is, and then those 4 areas that we're going to start working on, and then she's going to find time to work with you one-on-one. There's going to be an opportunity for you all to come together, and we'll make all of that happen. So Solange, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you so much. Hal, thank you so much for beginning us in a good way, and with the prayer, and especially the prayers to help guide this work and guide me. I think of bowling often, and when you put up the little gutters, like how to keep Solange in the middle, and how do we keep her going this way in a good way? And so I thank you for those prayers at the beginning to keep in my heart and to keep in my thinking as we move forward.
So are we the pinheads?
No. No, I'm just keeping me out of the gutter and moving forward. And Cindy, thank you so much for welcoming me into this project and into this work, and to introducing me to this very special relationship you have with the elders and knowledge keepers here today. And I just want to say I'm very humbly here. I'm very, very grateful that you bring me into this circle for these conversations. And she isn't here today, but Monique Mo, she has been just wonderful. She's a sister to me, and to be able to reconnect with a lot of community members who I've worked with in the past in different roles and areas. Honestly, my cheeks after our meetings are just so stiff because I'm smiling. I'm just so happy. And so, yeah, it's fantastic. It's a really good feeling. So thank you for the warm introductions and getting to laugh again, those good old belly laughs. I don't think there are enough meetings that operate in this way, and I appreciate that. And so today, what I was hoping to do was to talk about some of the goals of this project, but also introduce myself and to share a little bit about how I'm approaching it and where my place is in this as we think about the goals. And I'll ask, kind of share a little bit, and then share a bit about the goal, and then ask for your input. If there's something I need to be especially mindful of, things I need to be thinking about, things I maybe need to try to avoid, just to help this project and this work really go forward together in a good way. So the basis of this work has been built on a model that I developed. So I was a teacher. I taught middle school, high school. I was in Lethbridge for 9-10 years, and I took my Master of Education partly there and partly here. And so in my work, I've been able to work with a lot of people who made me feel really welcome and really helped to create a sense of belonging for me. And there was a lot that they just offered and shared with me in the work that I did there. So one person who really helped me in my thinking and in my work was Yvonne Patros-Pratt. She's a Métis sister of mine, and Betty Latondra. They really helped to kind of guide what it's like and role model, especially role model how to show up and to how to be in areas where you're seeking that wisdom and guidance from knowledge keepers. When I was in Lethbridge and in school, I had the chance to work with Narcissus, with the late Narcissus Blood, and that was incredible. I was in a course where we were able to go to 13 sacred sites, and that's in my class. There was Jeannie Davis and Pam Heavyhead, and that's also where I met Alvin and Tamara Manychief, and they were really key in terms of bringing me and my family into community events and just to making me feel really, really welcome. And so I guess I approach this work very humbly and also understand that it's only through learning and understanding what it means to work and to live and to be in a place of learning, but also to have that really strong acknowledgement of what comes from Creator and that spiritual piece, and trying to bring that into other people's way of thinking. And I guess that's kind of the Métis part. What I always feel like I have two different shoes on all the time. I have one's a running shoe and then the other is a moccasin. So trying to find ways to walk forward and keep moving in a good way with that. And so in the work that I was able to do as I was developing the model, Dwayne Donald was really key and really important. And his voice is in my head a lot. He was a very dear friend, and I still, find myself asking to go for a walk together, and we bring, we take that time to be able to really think of what this looks like in education, what it looks like in academia, what it looks like in all of the different places when we're really trying to think about decolonizing and really trying to think about what does reconciliation mean, what does reciprocity mean in terms of learning from one another. I worked on a provincial project with K-12 teachers, and Randy Bottle was somebody who I worked with within the project quite closely. And he he was a huge support within this area here. I also worked with Virgil Stevens, and Joseph Deschamps was another person from Musqueam, and they were really key and guiding me and helping to bring community together. And one of the gatherings that we had was at the end of it, Joseph Deschamps just said there has to be more there has to be more us rather than the them, and looking at it in terms of two groups, and just approaching this work as what does it mean to be a human being, and to be kind, and to show kindness to others as human beings. And so even though this project is based on bringing newcomers together and bringing our Indigenous community members together, what does it mean to show up as human beings who are kind, and show that kindness and show that respect to each other. And then quite recently, I was able to work on a project with Mo through Calgary Learns, when she was with Calgary Learns, and it was creating that ethical space for educators and Indigenous learners. So I'll talk a little bit about curriculum, but really it's about finding different ways to learn and to negotiate two worlds. And in that project, I was able to work with Reg and Rosie Crowshoe. There was also Doreen Spence and Florence Kelly and Sky Blue Morin. And so the work was guided by an Elders Council. And to me, that's the only way to be able to move forward with this work. And so I'm really grateful to be able to ask questions. You'll hear me asking more questions than anything else as we go through. And so in the process of working with Reg and Rosie, that project was about 1.5 years. And when the project was wrapping up and coming to an end, Reg validated the model that I developed in my master's program, and it's my thesis. He validated that, and we actually went through transfer ceremony. And through ceremony, he transferred symbols that I can use with the model as well. And so I'll be sharing some of those as we continue our work together. And that meant so much to me. I had gone through, through my Western ways, the defense, where you're sitting with all of these people in front of you and they're grilling you, and that was nothing. That was nothing compared to, 1.5 years of conversations and that deep learning. And it meant a lot to me to be able to have that validation from Reg. And so, the paper side of things, the information about the model, I'll be able to share that information with you as well. But today, I just wanted to give that as the background as to where I'm coming from. I'm using the model in this work, and it's really an approach to start thinking about what does progress mean? What does achievement mean in a different way than a lot of people think about progress and achievement, especially when it comes to when we have to report something. And when I read Cindy's report for the first time, it literally brought tears to my eyes, because when she said she was presenting this as an oral report, to return to those ways, to reclaim those ways, that sense of resurgence, to be able to say, this is how we are sharing this knowledge with you, I think is really important, and it's a wonderful role model to be able to bring that forward. So I'm here, I'm humble. I have a picture. I don't know how many of you guys can see the screen, but I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to share an image of how I feel in all of this work. This is me. This is me from some time ago, but this is still how I feel most days. A little girl
Nice.
just kind of smiling her way through and trying to figure things out. So yes, that's a quick little image of how I feel in this work and sitting with this knowledge that you all have. So I'm going to share the first goal with the model. It's called learning to be. Oh. What's that? I'm sorry, I just
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. um, so the first goal of that I have within the model is learning to be and being. And within the project work, we're starting to think about how can we be welcoming, that welcoming reciprocity and welcoming belonging. And that's really the goal. The goal written out, I'll read it to you now. Develop curriculum and facilitator guides to implement a co-designed learning program that fosters reciprocity, social justice, and a sense of belonging and interconnectedness in a respectful way within the community. And so, that's the official goal that we have right now. That's just drafted. It's in pencil. But it's really about that welcoming reciprocity and belonging. So what I had wanted to ask were, again, those things that I need to be mindful of, that we need to be mindful of, things that we should attend to, and really think about when we're talking about welcoming reciprocity and belonging. Cindy, I can see that you're speaking, but your mic is just muted.
Sorry, I'm going to put Casey on the spot with this. Basically, we just made camp. Is the visual that I'm thinking of, and we just made camp. So this is basically Solange asking, the elders and the ceremonialists, as elders, how do you expect, say, young people like me, when we first walk into that camp, how would you like us to show up?
Well, to show up as a human being first, without titles, without bringing the conlistic role that you have out there, but to understand who you are as a human being. And that's, in any ceremony, that's what we always look at. Just be real. Just be who you are, and not put on any false facades of any sort. That's exactly what our people have always taught. Don't be what you are not. Be who you are.
Thank you for that, Casey. That is really, sometimes, again, these young people, they're really stuck to their watches, and they're really stuck to their agendas, and then they're really stuck to their meeting times, and, they get frustrated, when we say, oh, it'll happen soon, or, let's take the time to really get to know each other, and be that welcome. Give me beepits, and, basically to be that kind and loving and welcoming and gentle person. That's what you just said. To me, that's what I heard, Casey. So Hal, I'm gonna put you on the spot. So when we show up like a human being, and we put aside all of those masks, that we wear, and we're humble when we walk into like a ceremony, humble when we walk into camp. How do we demonstrate this with each other? Say me and Solange are walking together into camp. How would we treat each other?
Well, I would love to know the culture of the people that's coming in, so if they can have a regalia of themselves from their traditional territory. It could be if they're from Africa, maybe they have that lion robe or something that reflects where they come from, and I would be very appreciative of that, visually at first contact. Then we get a sense of their pride, and that's definitely what I would encourage. Of course, us will have our headdress on or regalia on. If there's any camel hides, definitely I'd love to see that reflection. Where they come from.
Thank you, Hal. And so what I heard you say is, it would be really nice if they came in walking proud and, being able to, again, tell the story of this regalia and what it means and the symbolism and, how it's still celebrated in a cultural way today. And So, and then now I guess we're all at camp. We're wearing our traditional regalia. Betty, so we're all in camp now. If we're gonna do ceremony, then some of us are wearing our traditional ceremonial regalia and things like that. What are some other ways that you think we can, continue to build this welcoming environment?
Well,
Can I say
first of all,
something?
who's going to say something?
Rod.
Okay,
sure,
Rod,
Rod.
go ahead.
It's just really quick. Our official regalia for Casey is a breechcloth in front only on one. That's all. That's it.
Rod, you and Hal can wear yours on the side.
Solange just covering her eyes.
Oh my God. I'll never go to ceremony again.
That's not the kind of person I was talking about. I'm just kidding.
So and of course what I heard from that, Solange, is being willing to engage in laughter. There's lots of teasing, just like that happens in any other family, where we're from. It doesn't matter where we come from around the world. There's always going to be that element of teasing and then, that comfort. So basically get over yourself and don't think yourself so important that you can't take a joke.
Really?
Betty. Yeah,
Yes.
Betty.
Yes.
So we're all in camp. We're, sharing stories and, maybe dressed in our traditional regalia. What are some other ways that we know that we belong?
We belong, just being ourselves, I think. Well, I kind of, question kind of threw me off. But what I wanted to say was, it's probably out of the question that you asked. Like when we're in camp, at a spiritual ceremony, the women, like I've seen it done, I've seen it so many times when women come to the spiritual grounds, they're not dressed appropriately. Even our own people, where they have these skimpy little tops on and their breasts are just about hanging out and whatever, shorts. Just teaching them the appropriateness of dress, to have respect for your body, respect for yourself, respect for the elders, and respect for all people that are in the cultural camp. That's I don't know if it's kind of out of the question that you asked, but that's, and then when you see all people in their traditional ways or their dress, you feel comfortable, you feel okay, you're at home. So that's my answer.
That's perfect, Betty. I was hoping one of you women, I was hoping that you would say, say that, because there's an appropriate way to dress. And, a lot of these young ones, they challenge and they don't say why, or, they're always asking why. Elvian, what are some other ways that, we're in camp and we're welcoming, we're sharing each other? Anything else that you want to add in this welcoming, reciprocity, and belonging question that Solange put forward?
Okay, I'll use our Sundance as an example. We do have a lot of different races that come by or are joining our our Sundance, and we welcome them, like Casey mentioned about looking at them as human beings first, and not the color of the skin, and honoring them that they have that interest in wanting to learn our traditional ways, our spiritual ways. It's a great honor when somebody comes to want to learn about our ways. I have, and also to show some respect. Patsy mentioned, Betty mentioned about respect, and it's all about being respectful. Um, and I know Cindy mentioned something about not something about not knowing it all, because we're all learning together. And like when we do have newcomers come, I always let them know I don't know it all. I might learn from you, and you'll learn from me. We'll learn together, and but most of all, we welcome you into our group. We respect your traditional values, and just making them feel that they are a part of us. I find that today there's too many of this racist that's happening that uh, well, not Pequex, white people are not allowed to do this, or others aren't allowed to do this and that. And but for us, I just feel that if they show some interest in our ways, then give them that. Share it with them. Um, and so with our Sundance, we do have some non-natives that are in the Sundance, and we respect them. They respect us. We respect them. And, so it goes. It's for both of us to respect each other. Yeah, and also just be approachable, respectful on how you dress. Christina and I, as young, when we were young, we were told we were forbidden to wear skimpy clothes and stuff like that, as my mother would tell us to dress appropriately when we had uncles coming by, or, mail coming into the house. It's just all about being respectful. So that's all I have to share, Lester.
Just question again.
So we're all in camp together, and just how can we be welcoming, show reciprocity and belonging between us Indigenous peoples and those that are curious to learn. What I heard Alvine say is, she really honors, those that are willing to learn about us.
Yeah.
And she really honors their curiosity that they have. Those are things that I heard her say.
I'll just kind of share what I do when we run our Sundance. I kind of wait till everybody, when I know everybody has showed up, and I make my rounds and I introduce myself and I welcome them. And tell them to enjoy themselves, be yourself, and whoever going to sweat, that I don't know it all, and we'll learn together throughout the weekend. And my job there is just to make sure that the dance is going, and just overseeing everything, and but most of all making people, the visitors, welcome. And Alvin had said earlier that in ceremony, the elders said we see a human being first, not the color of their skin. And for me, that's really important, to be ourselves. And And regarding the camp out, it doesn't have to be here, but maybe at Hell, Rod, or someplace up in Calgary. But I welcome this camp out if you guys choose to use the grounds down here. But I know Hal and Rod, Casey, they all have a spot, and yeah, so that's about all I have to say on that.
Thank you so much. I think you have your full circle for your first question. Of course, this is just an introduction, you know, it's not to say that this is the last time we'll ever visit, you know, this content moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
can I just add one thing
Yes.
that I think all of us have forgotten? You know, when we get visitors, the first thing we do is to share food.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the critical areas of our cultures. Doesn't matter which indigenous culture. The first thing we always do is sit our guests down to a meal. You know, and then even in that process, you create that ethical space of just being human, being real, creating a relationship. I mean, that's the first stage of that we do when we meet somebody new, to sit down and break bread with them, really, and just to create a relationship.
Cindy, could I say something?
Absolutely. This is Patsy.
You know, I was listening to everybody, and you know, the one thing that I guess we'll just use an example. You're coming into the camp with whoever, and I think what also we have to be mindful is the person that wants to go to a camp or speak whatever, they always have to contact an elder. Always first, you know, that's the first step, to contact an elder and, you know, explain the situation of what the person wants or what's needed. And I find it like, especially, I'll go back to the Sundance too. You know, we have leaders. We have the leaders like both Casey and LV Lester are the main leaders, and they have the ones coming down, and you know, those are the teachers. Those are the teachers to explain to the young people or whoever's coming in. This is what we do, and this is what we do. You know, the do's and don'ts. So it goes back. Not only one person takes that heat of responsibility, it comes right back to the camp. You know, everybody partakes in saying what and saying that, because we all went through that, and we know the guidelines of word guidelines. You know, the real responsibilities of coming into a camp. So that's what I see as an expert or as a professional, whoever, they must approach an elder too, in that sense. And especially like with we'll just say hypothetically, you, Cindy, you wanted to come down to bring all these women in. You would go approach the female, and you'd ask the questions and ask them, is this what we do? Is this how we do it? And blah, 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 eh? So those are the things that a person needs to know. Jen?
That's really good. That's really good, Patsy. You hit on something that's really, I think that's been a role that we've been trying. I had it at the police. It's the role of a cultural mediator. So that person, say myself, for instance, I'd go and I'd approach Elvian, or I'd approach, you know, Betty or Patsy, and I'd ask them, you know, is it okay if we come? Say I'm coming with a group of women, and then I'll ask them, you know, what are the do's and what are the don'ts? And then I'm going to go back to that group of women, and I'm going to tell them, okay, they said, yeah, you come, but this is what their expectations are, and this is how you're going to be respectful. And then I'll ask that group of women, what are you wanting? Because if their only reason for going down and being in a cultural setting is to go get a husband, is to go create trouble, is to go look for 649 numbers, then I'm going to tell them, stay home. That's not what this is for. So it's basically that role of a cultural mediator, to be that in-between person, to try bring both sides together in a good way so that everybody has a positive experience. So thank you for that, Patsy. Awesome. And then that group of women doesn't even know how much hell I get when they go down and they're looking for husbands. Jokes. I get the earful.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of these ideas. You'll see a lot, for those who can see the camera, you'll see a lot of the top of my head because I'm trying to write down as many things in case what comes into my ears doesn't quite make it and locked in. So thank you again for sharing all of those. And, I can't help but think of, how much of this is reclaiming that sense of welcoming and belonging has never gone anywhere. That even though, when we talk about in the spirit of reconciliation, what does that mean? It means that there's that same sense of welcoming that was there before contact, when it was just, our communities that were here in their territories. And so to me, this is a really important way of showing the strength of the community. So thank you for all of those ideas. And I, as we go through and as we continue on this work, if at any point, again, if I'm starting to hit close to the gutter on back to the bowling, yeah, I appreciate these words because they'll help me most definitely. The next thing I had wanted to talk about was to talk about knowing and, learning to know and, really learning to understand local perspectives. And, something that this makes me think a lot about when I think about knowing is, what is knowledge? So we can go to the big questions, epistemological, ontological, when we think about the cosmos and we think about, what is knowledge. And I like to put it in terms of what that sense of responsibility is. And I often think about when the Blackfoot shirts came to the Galt Museum, and when I went there that day, I was invited to be part of the initial revealing of the shirts. And Alvine was there, and it was just all community. And we sat there and we listened to the people from Oxford University go on and on about the shirts and the shirts that were, in so-and-so's castle. And then they went to this other castle, and she talked about the holes in the shirts of the walls they had been on and the boats that they went on. And, the entire time my chest is tightening and, my fists are tightening. And, she talked about where they're stored in the university in a drawer. And, then we went downstairs and there was ceremony, and then the shirts were revealed. And, it's one of those moments where, everything changes in a moment. The energy that came from the room and of what was happening, and, just the respect that Alvine spoke to these women with, in terms of, that's nice to know your version of the story, but we're here because we need to learn from the shirts. We need to learn the quill patterns and how to do that, and to take a moment to acknowledge, this one piece would have taken 2.5 years of gathering and quilling, and apart from all other responsibilities that the women would have had at the time. And just that deeper understanding of what is knowledge, and trying to introduce other people to that, and to introduce people not through, read this textbook, read this article, read this, but to experience that in such a profound way, in terms of, where we're learning, to reclaim some of those notions of what knowledge is. And for me, when I think about it in terms of the relational model, it's about how does that transfer to our understanding. So we might know something, we might know these things happened. We might know about certain facts or concepts, but until it goes into our understanding of our role, what's our role? And I'm not talking job title. I'm talking about what's our role as a human being in our community. I think about my role. How can I be helpful? How can I help others? How can I create bigger circles so that more ideas about what knowledge is can fit in the circle? I try to avoid thinking of things as a gap. Cindy's heard me talk a lot about this. A lot of our reporting measures like to think about gaps. How do we close the gap? And that's a large part of where the model came from, because what are you telling my children? They self-identify as Indigenous people in every little checkbox. What does that mean if the goal is to close the gap so they meet the average of everyone else? They grew up with an understanding that it has to be reciprocal, and understanding those local perspectives of what knowledge is, what understanding is, and what our role is. So I think about being helpful. I think about transferring some ideas to other people. And in terms of the work that we're doing, and about that knowing, it's about knowing and understanding local perspectives. And when we think about the exchange, this is understanding, what it means to be here, in Treaty 7 territory. What does that mean to have that understanding of the local perspectives here? But then also to understand, what does that exchange look like from our newcomer communities? What does it look like when we can localize that knowledge and their experiences so that there's that exchange? So with this project goal, it's about understanding local perspectives, but it's also about looking at, the resources to respond for people to see themselves represented, not only, in the groups that we bring together, but in the content and the materials, and the learning experiences that we're creating. So, this is an area where I'm looking for that guidance, those ideas about, making sure that we create opportunities and experiences for people to understand local perspectives. What does that look like, and what should I be, particularly mindful of?
So thank you for that, Solange. What I hear you saying in you're defining your lane with the gutters up. On one side, your gutter, I hear you saying, knowledge. I hear you saying, listening about knowledge. And then on the other side, I hear you saying, okay, what are the ways that I think I belong in this knowledge story? So for me, that's what I hear you saying. And my I guess interpretation is, what I know about Western education, it's really reductive. It's based on proving this and proving this and proving this and proving this. My understanding and my cultural worldview is the exact opposite. It's not reductive. In fact, a baby comes into this world here carrying all of that knowledge and awareness from the spirit world, and they add, to our experiences. So they're born with knowledge. They're born with that ancient wisdom. And if you ever notice when you're in ceremony and you're there as an observer, you may think, how come none of these people look after their kids? These kids are running around, how come nobody is telling them to be quiet or sit down or anything like that? Part of our belief system is that as young ones, as babies, they're still holy. They still carry that holiness from that other world and that ancient wisdom. So it's actually a real blessing to have babies and young children at ceremony, because it helps us all. It really helps with the prayers as well too. And so what I'm saying is my indigenous, my Blackfoot worldview, it's the exact opposite. We don't have to prove and prove and prove and prove. Ours is based on a relational, we don't, an example that I heard really recently is, if you think of a frog, you don't dissect the frog and say, oh, this is the liver and this is what it does in the life and the learning. This is the heart and this is what it does in the life and the learning. Or these are the lungs. And then after you dissected and talked about everything, then you try put that frog back together and you try prove that it's still a living being. That's kind of how my interpretation is. Our indigenous knowledge and worldview and learning is alive. It's full of life in every single thing, animate and inanimate, right? And it's not dissected. It's involved in everything. So I don't know if my elders will agree with me. Casey, I'm going to call you first.
Yeah, when you're talking about knowledge and our ways of knowing, being, and doing, and that's basically the three principles that we have as indigenous people. And a lot of it is when we look at that even in Blackfoot, when the elders start to pray, it's say, okay, Nikra, hello, my relations. But when you really take that and interpret that to its full meaning, what it acknowledges that we all have this collective responsibility for the well-being of our people in our community, which reflects upon every individual within that community. And knowledge really is, when that's being transferred from one person to another through stories or teachings, whatever they're doing, is that it really doesn't become knowledge until the receiver shares that with somebody else. Then does it become part of their knowledge base. And that's always the way it's been with our people. And many of us can probably look at the elders that we were taught from. We would go share that with friends. This is what the elder taught me today. And that adds to the retention of what that means. So really, it is a responsibility of every individual to seek knowledge. And you've heard me say this before. Learning is life, and life is learning. And it's always been that way for people. And the teaching I received years ago was that the day that you stop learning is the day that you've crossed over into the spirit world. And never stop seeking knowledge, and to always be aware that you'll never learn everything, but you'll learn what you need to know for the journey that you individually are on, but to always be open to sharing and receiving. And that's the way we look at life, and that it's who we are, and it's the first stages. They say the very first step is to create that relationship. And the core part of who we are is creating relationship. We often hear that, I can't cook gum and see them. We're gonna make relatives. That's why when we look at our traditional family structures, it's not just our biological nuclear family. It's others that we take in as brothers or sisters, or ones who adopt as their son or daughter, others who take us as their grandchildren, or we take others in the same way. That's just the way it is for our people. It's not a learned way of doing. It is a natural way of being. But for our young people, it's going to have to be something that has to be taught and transferred, by those who carry that knowledge, transfer that over. This is the well-being of those 7 generations ahead of us. And that's the best way I can answer you right now.
Thank you, Casey. That's awesome. Hal?
Sorry, I got cut out there. I have to rejoin because my sound went off. So what was the question? I'm so sorry.
So basically the responsibility and process of coming to understand who you are. And then when you understand who you are, how is it that knowledge travels?
Well, definitely our knowledge of who we are comes from our traditional name given to us. Of our personality. So that's what I would, respond to that is given your Indian name, traditional name, kind of molds your personality through life. And we have many names. So one aspect of yourself, if it's not covered in one name, may come from another name. I have a Cree name, I have a Tsuut'ina name, and an English native name, and also my English given name. So definitely they all interpret who I am, personality-wise. Thank you.
Thank you, Hal. Betty?
You just passed a turn.
Okay. Maybe we can't hear you, Betty. Alvin, maybe this process of learning, and you heard Casey speak to basically an individual responsibility to show up like a human being, be open to new new information coming to you. And what I heard him say is, we still practice that kinship care, that traditionally adopting our sisters and our brothers, parents, grandparents, and to continue to be open to learning from each other.
Okay, from my beliefs, I believe that we started learning from our mother's womb, and then for me, like for our connection to Creator is through our mother, and to our grandmother and our great grandmother and so forth. That is our connection to Creator. And you mentioned something about children playing. It's so true that today I practically are raising our grandchildren. So when we're doing ceremonies, we never leave our children out. It was from an elder that told us to include our children. They might not partake, but at least they're amongst and they're playing. And how we know that they learned something is when they reenact a ceremony. And we've witnessed that a lot, where we've seen our grandchildren playing a Sundance or even a sweat lodge. So we know that they're listening. They might be playing, but in the back of their mind, they can hear and see, and they learned our ways. So it's through our grandmother, our mothers, and our grandmothers that taught us. And maybe there are times that something will come up, and I might have been a little girl at the time, but not remembering at that time. But when it does come up, oh yeah, I remember that time my grandmother said this or whatever it is. And so I really strongly believe in the connections through my mother and through my grandmother. I just wanted to add this. We're talking about I think it was Hal that talked about the what is that, reconciliation. It's so sad today that about the missing, murdered women, plus the children that they're finding those unmarked graves. There's a little saying here that I was reading up on before, and it talks about when will the destruction stop? And and then we say as elders, well, it's going to stop now. We're going to stop it now. And how can we do that? Okay, first of all, is we need to heal ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We need to heal our wounded relationships. We need to heal our children and our nation. And in our way of in our thoughts, today is the future. We start thinking ahead for the future of our grandchildren rather than dwelling on things that are not healthy for our children. And for me, it's to live a life fully is with a good mind and a loving heart, and to sing and drum the traditional songs, dream and see visions. And a lot of the elders, and I know a lot of the spiritual medicine men, they go to the Chief Mountain or any place where they can find that spot to do a vision quest, and that's where they get their answers. And most of all is our sacred ceremonies. Seek the wisdom of the Creator, live in peace and harmony with all our relations. And Casey mentioned that. Um, and today, our young ones we're losing our loved ones, our young ones, through alcohol and drugs. They're finding that wrong path. So we need to help each other out, and that's through ceremonies and gaining wisdom and knowledge through our Creator. So that's all I have to share.
Hey,
Thank you, Elvie.
Bless.
Rod, would you like to add anything on this? Uh, I guess what is knowledge and what's our sense of responsibility in this?
yeah, well, knowledge is starts from when you were born, I guess. Uh, some of it is passed through sign language or gestures, making sure that the people know some of the gestures that that mean something, like I'm hungry, or where you're going, or what's Calgary. Calgary is the elbow, eh? And we used to have two people out here in Morley that couldn't talk, so we learned their language, knowledge, like an ethical space, because they live in a different world than us, and we had to learn as a group watching. So how many of us here can say that we're in a group and we can teach these newcomers what we know? How can we give them a better way to gain our knowledge? Because like people come up to me, when they want help, uh, sweat-wise, medicine or spiritual-wise, they do it the proper way. They they have tobacco, and they come and see me. They don't call over the phone or things like that. But because of COVID, I've been telling them, please do that. So that's kind of against what we're taught, eh? But proper protocol and on how to approach an elder, that's knowledge. And in proper ways to talk to an elder, that's another knowledge. That's knowledge. And you know, for us here in Morley, the Nakota cultures don't stare at anybody eye to eye. That means it's a challenge. It's a challenge to a battle, or else I don't like you, go away. Whereas white people will think, what has he got to hide? That's not, you know, that's not the way it is. You know, knowledge is knowledge, and somehow it's gained, even through just listening. Sometimes I sit there and listen to, say these two people who know medicine are talking about one. I'm lucky enough to hear it. Oh, okay, that's where I get it. That's how I do it. And then I give them tobacco after, because I gained the knowledge without even them asking. I mean, telling me, or without me asking. It's all about gestures and knowledge, I guess, is some of the things that I like to point out. It's very sometimes it gets complicated, some of the sign language and stuff. But we all have to learn. We all have to know. And I like that thing that Casey was saying about ethical space. That's where two worlds that are preparing to meet in the middle to gain knowledge. That's what we have to kind of develop more, is the ethical space. Thanks.
Thank you, Rod. What I heard you say is actually no one gets left behind, because we think that the exchange is only between able-bodied people, that can speak and, and we forget about those that have challenges.
Yeah.
So thank you for reminding us that in our life, no one gets left behind. We always have room for everybody, and they're a human being. They're a human being. So thank you for that, Rod. Patsy?
I've been writing notes. I have
Yeah,
a whole 2 pages here.
I know, me too.
I think I really like this discussion that we're on right now. And when I think about knowledge, the knowledge, most of the knowledge that I picked up are from the teachings, from my family, from my I guess I would call my brothers and sisters in Indigenous world. I wasn't privileged as a young child to know all these, what I know now. So there's a process to everything. And it's a learned process that we're adapting to, which we adapt to all the time. The stories are so powerful. And the practices, balances are learned in the stories. We practice that. And the effects now, when you talk about, I guess I think I found an answer for some of the questions I asked myself. How come? The way back prior to my grandfather's time, it was livable. They lived in Indian world. They lived in their medicines. They lived the hardship life. As us now, we just turn on a switch, shut the door, and turn the heat up. Then they lived the opposite of us. And then as years passed, and then the white man came into our world, where residential school took a big hold on us. It affected the whole communities in First Nations. Then we had the 60 scoop. It affected the families on all First Nations. And day schools. I guess we were, as somebody mentioned, are we the what did he call it? Hal called it in the beginning. Are we the pinheads or whatever? We are the pinheads because of the fact that the white men were doing all these things to us. But at the end of the day, when you talk about when we talk about knowledge, who are we today? We've gone through all that that torture that was there, but we're all sitting here together or all talking together. The healing process, it's so true what Elvin said. The healing has to begin within your own self, within your home, within your family, within your community. That's how I see things are going to change. And I remember going up to when I worked in Hobima for 9 years. I was working in addictions. And that time I was kind of like, I lived with my common law nearly 50 years. And then he was the one that sort of started the teachings of me in our Indian culture, our ways. And I always remember this one old man used to tell me, no Sundance purse, or not Sundance, no sweat holders, no, these medicine men is better than the next person. We're all equal. We're all trying to help one another to, get better. And I saw that I saw spiritual warfare happening. And I always think about it. Nobody's better than anybody. And that's one of the most knowledgeable things that I accepted. And today, when you think about it, the effects now, along with the residential school, blah, 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 then we have our missing, murdered, and Indigenous women and men, eh? And then children's lives matter. What was mentioned, all these children. And, they're scooping up, so much things that the government hid on us. Or, our ancestors died with the, the full secret of what had happened to us in the days. So those are the things. That's what's knowledge to me. I really, really picked up on lots of knowledge. And at the end of the day, who you cannot say she, he, or them is better than me. No, you're a better person when you accept your mistakes and you correct them and you move ahead. So that's what I say. The knowledge is all in us. We have to go out and do it. Jen.
Very powerful, Patsy. Thank you. I know we're getting a little short on time. I don't know if anybody wants to, excuse me. I don't know if anybody wants to add to anything that they've heard in this time. And I think that Solange and I can, put the last two questions and send it to you that way so that we can keep this, her goals, because we went to 2 goals, which is a lot more than I thought we would do. So holy crap, you guys are good. You're all good. All of you are real good. Maybe we'll find another way to answer those 2 other goals that she has. And what I recommend, Solange, is actually like a chart, and maybe boxes, and then they can fill in, but I'm gonna say thank you from my heart. I don't know. I'm gonna give it back over to Solange to carry us through the next few minutes.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for all of the insights and the wisdom. And I'm holding my tobacco here, and I wish I could crawl through all of this technology that makes it possible for us to connect and offer it to you as a sincere thank you for taking this time to be with me and to share some of these ideas. And I hope to be able to bring this to starting to put together some ideas of how we can create learning activities and how we can create relational space through the learning of this program. And so that will be some of the next steps. And so I know that was one of the requests at the very beginning, to find out, what do we do? And so, in our last couple of minutes here, I wanted to let you know that I'll be able to share some of that information. I'm meeting with the advisory council group members one-on-one to find out what areas of strength they have that they want to contribute, areas they might want to take a bit of a leadership role, or they might have resources or things that they've already used before. So it's starting to kind of gather what we already have collectively as a group. And then just to get to know everyone a little bit better. Most of the advisory council I've worked with on other projects over the past 10 years. And so it's exciting to be able to reconnect. But then from that point, it'll also be working together on the 7 teachings and meeting with advisory council and with yourself. And so you'll see Cindy will be sharing information every step of the way. I'm creating some, like baskets, baskets of all of the things that have happened and kind of some targets of thinking ahead of things that we should be mindful of in doing. So know that in the next little bit, they'll be, bringing together some of the ideas that you've shared today to think about the activities that we can do within the kit, the resources we can gather, how we're creating that relational space with our communities together. And then there'll be the connection point between the advisory, myself, and us together in just a small group.
So
one more thing, Cindy.
Ahead, yes.
After this, I'm going to go have my 44th wedding anniversary dinner.
Oh, congratulations.
44.
Wow. I think that's longer than Solange has been alive.
No, I'm a mamère. I'm a cookum. I am a grandma. Don't let these Zoom filters fool you. I have gray hair and a grandbaby.
Cindy,
Yes. Yeah.
could I just make something short and sweet?
Sure.
On the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, we're doing our missing murdered Indigenous women and men walk. We're going to be walking from my house to Calgary, so that's 2.5 days that we'll be doing that, or
Wow.
2 days.
Wow.
So if anybody's interested, we were trying to invite Morley to come out because we wanted to hit the four directions, north, south, east, and west. We got the north, we got the east, and we got the south, our area. So we're looking for, we have one individual, but she lives in the city. So it would be nice if everybody partook in this. But anyway, the invite is out. And 4 o'clock Saturday, we're going to have a pipe ceremony here at the house, and then we will start our walk.
Okay. I'll, if it's okay with you, Patsy, I'll kind of put that out to people.
Maybe just send me your email and we'll send you a poster.
Yeah, okay. Right on.
Yes, a poster too.
Okay, who's that?
Rod.
Cindy. Send me your email too. Give it to Cindy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll have that, and I'll coordinate and make sure that you have updates as well. So thank you for your time. I think Solange, I know she has tobacco for you and a braid of sweetgrass each for you, just to honor, this picking your brains. So she can honor picking your brains. So those are forthcoming gifts to you from Solange as well. And wow, I have about 4 pages of notes too from today. So thank you so much. We'll make sure that these minutes come out to you. And we look forward to touching base with how that working group is going to, those working groups are going to happen. And Solange will reach out to you one-on-one too.
Okay, thank you.
So
Right,
have
good.
have a good day. Thank you for your time. For those that are traveling on the road, Casey, I pray for your safe travels and your safe return. And for everybody else, thank you so much for all of your knowledge and wisdom.
All right. Thank you.